This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
The following is a paid program. The content is provided by the advertiser. WPSL, its staff, management, and ownership are not responsible for the content. Investment involves risk. Prior to making any investment, an investor should meet suitability requirements. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Neither the opinions expressed nor the information provided constitutes a recommendation to purchase or provide investment advice. The material presented is not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person or firm. Securities offered through Centaurus Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. And now, the host of the Team Martek Hour, Joe Martek.
You mean there's an attorney out there that's not a conservative? Is there a
I think so.
conservative attorney in the whole state of Wisconsin, Alan?
Well, I was,
I know, but you're not there anymore.
but I have
You know,
friends
that-
that are there.
I didn't say friends. I said
No.
attorneys.
They're friends, though.
You
They are
you
attorneys
actually have
and
a friend that's an attorney?
Absolutely.
He's a unicorn, Joe, because the state of Wisconsin is very liberal.
Yeah.
How did you
But they
we
also-
know why you had to get out of Wisconsin.
yes.
And
well,
he got evicted. When I think about who was the governor that was a Republican governor who lost this last time. But
Scott Walker.
Yeah, Scott did a magnificent job, and here was
What a fighter too, because they contested the last time he won.
he was a talent. Hey, he was the rising star, one of those in the Republican Party.
Until he tried to one-up Trump by saying we should put a wall between the U.S. and Canada. That
Which
sort
was
of killed
really
things
stupid,
right
yeah,
there.
well.
Well, he wasn't in touch with the people.
Right.
No, well, that was just a dumb statement. You make a dumb statement, you ever notice how there's a lot of jokes that I can't tell, but you can build bridges and be the greatest bridge builder in the world, and nobody calls you a bridge builder if you commit one little sin. The one little sin the rest of your life is your claim to no fame. You're infamous, right?
Absolutely. But that's how our society is changing. It's instantaneous now. You say one thing and it's all over the world within
Immediately.
2 minutes.
340-1590, 340-1590. This is the Team Martek Hour, and the only team member that's here is our guest team member, who's not a team member, who's been the most dependable team member for the last 2.5 years, give or take. Am I talking close?
Yes?
Alan Love, retired prosecuting attorney from the great state of Wisconsin. I am Joe Martek, a financial advisor. We've been doing these radio shows. This is our 15th year. 15th. When I was 15, nobody lived to be that old. When you think about it, if Dan and Greg and I, Dan Warren, independent insurance agent, big word, Greg Fasula, attorney, probably the only attorney in the whole world other than Alan that you'd like to have as a next-door neighbor, because he's one of the nicest, gentlest, best, good, high integrity. You couldn't get him to cheat, lie, or do anything. Unfortunately, he is also a political liberal, but we love him anyway. But he's we started doing these radio shows with the concept of answering questions for people in each area of expertise, and then over a period of time, we added Ms. Victoria Lloyd, Remax of Stewart, who's the hardest working realtor known to man. And when our Great Recession hit, new words came in, especially short sales, and we needed somebody that was sophisticated, educated, and experienced to be able to help people, and she did. Mike Paulus, mortgage broker. In fact, I had 2 people this week that called me specifically about questions that Mike's the man. One, Alan, you'll get a kick out of this. It's maybe you won't get. It's not a big kick, but I have an existing client, that husband and wife and a daughter. Now the daughter's working, and they buy a piece of property, and they're going to build a house for the 3 of them. Well, then daughter gets married. Now we added a 4th. So they said, Joe, what do you think? And I said,
Sticky situation.
yeah, I'd have a bit of a problem building a house with the 3 of you and saying to the son-in-law, oh, by the way, you can stay here too. That's not so good. So
Yeah, and isn't that kind of weird and dysfunctional to, 2 families, like who's the boss of the family? Who's
you
the
see,
guy who really
if we
cuts
go
the
back
grass?
to the old country, the old countries, families very often, they stayed and they moved to another flat inside the house. They weren't supposed to ever leave.
Yeah, but they had no code then.
Yeah. Now it's a whole different
Yeah.
ballgame. So we ended up with, hey, the bottom line was,
Could they divide the property and just put two houses on it, maybe?
They just
or
basically give it back to the daughter, let the daughter do whatever she wants, because she's an
Okay.
adult.
Yeah.
She's working and making money. It's really her lot.
Okay.
And then then they said, well, Joe, okay, what about us getting a house? You got to call Greg. You got to call Mike Powis. I said, Mike over the phone will qualify you in 15 minutes and let you know what you can or cannot do. And I mean literally that fast. And that's the magic of Mike as an independent broker, as Joe Martek's an independent, as Dan Warren's an independent, as Greg Fasula's an independent. Everybody in our group is not answering to anybody as part of the system. Each one of us is an
Well,
independent.
kinda. You answer to your clients.
Well, there you do. What I'm
Yeah.
trying to say is now I have to answer to everybody. But if I was working for a big firm, and they would tell me, hey, Joe, you can't have a beard, you have to wear wingtip shoes. And remember these days, Alan, when we had the costume of business, which is
Sure.
the shirts and
I
ties,
kind of miss that though,
the what do you
but
call
I'm
it?
old school.
Three-piece suits.
Yeah.
Well, that was how I was
Kept that
raised.
dry cleaner in business.
Boy, the dry cleaners were happy. Up north, I guess they still do that, but
Yeah.
it's not so much
Yeah,
in
it's kind
Florida
of
now.
casual here. Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, look, I even clean up on occasion, especially if I'm meeting a new client or prospect. People put real clothes on, and people. I've had clients of mine say, "Joe, you're awful pretty today. What's wrong?" Anyway, so the concept of the group, very simply, was either here to make you money or save you money, and we've been doing it for 15 years and helping people. This one that called this week, that was specifically, hey, let's go build a house. Let Mike put them on the right road and show them how to do it. If they have problems, he'll show them how to cure the problems. That's what he does. And just a lot of people. I had this happen with another client of mine who was a retired banker. She says, Joe, I'm going to go buy another house. And I said, good, you ought to call Mike and talk about mortgages. She goes, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm a banker. My bank can handle this. About 2 months later,
My bank will take care of me.
2 months later, I get a phone call. Joe, do you have that mortgage guy's name? I said, Phil, what happened? She goes, I don't want to tell you. And I said, come on, Phil, I've known you for 20 years. What? She goes, I got turned down. And I said, what happened? She goes, I co-signed for a loan for my nephew, and he didn't pay. She says, now I'm going to pay it, because I've got to pay it off. But in the meantime, it's a mark on my credit report. So I said, hey, call Mike. She goes, okay. Well, Mike got her financed.
Yeah, that's going to be heartbreaking, though, to find out that you can't move forward with your plans in life because you helped somebody
Have you ever
in the past.
You did the investment
Yeah.
triangle? Remember, at the
Yep.
bottom of the triangle,
Yep.
there's the safe money. At the top, the worst investment you
Yep.
can make is
The-
loans
the-
to relatives.
Yeah.
Whether you
Try to-
sign for them.
Yep, try to collect.
In fact, I was over for Christmas, and my in-laws, my daughter's in-laws, they got this boat parked in the front yard. And I said, really, when'd you get that? And it's kind of a young person's boat, and they're old.
Okay.
So, well, that's our son's boat.
Okay.
Not
Well, the son took them shopping.
So then this father-in-law talks to me after, and he says, Joe, what happens if I want to sell that boat and there's a loan on it? And I said, well, you got to pay off the loan, and then you sell it. He said, well, what's the procedure? And I said, simple. You call the bank up that has the loan and say, I'm going to sell it. What do I have to do? And they'll give you the paperwork and everything and have it done, and you go to the bank or wherever it is and do the closing. It's just really simple. I said, what happened? He said, I co-signed for my son, which is probably the 9th time he's done.
In other words, that is his boat.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's, hey, time and time again. If a kid has trouble making payments, wouldn't you think he'd have a problem making this new payment? I mean, it's called, all of a sudden, I'm good credit for one thing, Dad, but nothing else. Anyway, it was just interesting how to learn. The other one was a reverse mortgage. And I have a client that needs income desperately to cover expenses and doesn't have enough base to create the income. So literally I says, hey, your ace in the hole is reverse mortgage. Well, the client had forgotten how they worked. You know, and it's something we take for granted because we talk about them all the time. And a reverse mortgage simply means you don't have to make payments. That's all. Well, what happens if you don't make payments? How does the house get paid for? Well, you die, and if the house is worth $200 because of the mortgage and the market's $300, the kids sell it for $300 and they make $100. If the house is worth $100 and you owe $200, the kids don't do anything. The bank loses, but it's a government-insured mortgage. It's no problem. So, and I kind of get a kick out of this. I swear nobody explains it to people. But let's say you have a $200,000 house. This is an example. And the reverse mortgage people say, fine, we'll loan you $100,000 on that $200,000 house, and now you never have to make a payment.
Okay.
And let's say the interest rate is 5%. 5% times $100,000 is $5,000 a year. But my $200,000 house probably will go up 5% a year. Well, no, seriously. We've had our dips, but when we take a 20
timing
and 30...
is everything.
Well, if we take a 20, 30, 40-year period, I mean, real estate has doubled, tripled, quadrupled.
I mean, look what would have happened to people during the time with all those short sales.
What I'm trying to say is that was a recession, a severe recession. But even though we've gone through recession after recession after recession, I don't know, how much did you pay for your first house, Alan?
$65,000 back in 1988.
Well, see, you're a high roller.
Yeah.
I paid $15,000 for my first house. Of course, quite a few years before that was back in the 60s. And I bought another house for $15,000 after that. Well, those same houses today are worth over $100,000. You know, it's just over a period of time we have inflation and then supply and demand. Now, in Florida, supply and demand, we're growing like crazy. Prices of real estate, no matter what you do, the cost of the land is going to just keep going up because we just don't have an ever-ending supply.
I'm a Zillow addict. I'm on Zillow all the time, looking at. I like to see like the insides of everyone's house to see how things are decorated and
That's the woman
just
thing.
take a look at their houses, and everything's the prices. It just depends. Things are going down. A lot of houses are going down. You know, down over the last 30 days. You know, $10,000.
Why in the last 30
I have no idea. That's just Zillow, I guess. I don't know how.
Listen, what happens...
It's a big computer in the sky with pictures of people's
but see,
houses.
there's also things, perception. This is the market. Perception has got nothing to do with reality. And what happens is moods come along, and all of a sudden they adversely affect the market. Now, all of a sudden, the last few days, the mood is very, very positive. T-bills have come down. I mean, all the things are lining up for the market to take off again. Okay, the stock market and the real estate market. But Florida is one of those that's more a supply and demand situation because, again, we don't manufacture any new dirt. And everybody wants to live near the coast. That's the most expensive land, and they just don't make any more of it.
Right.
But back to the reverse mortgage. Back again, you owe more, but in theory, your house appreciates, and they have appreciated over a period of time. I don't know. Look at your house. How many years ago did you buy it, and what's it worth now? I mean, it's everybody that has owned a house for the last 10 or 15 or 20 years, their house is worth considerably more. And if they got lucky enough to buy it during the downturn, some of them have doubled their money already. I mean, it's just by luck.
No, I think things right now, especially in this area, are fairly pricey.
Well, hey, the key is this. It costs X to buy the land, it costs Y to develop the land, and it costs Z to build a house on it. When you add that all together and you add a profit, that's the price. Well, when all of a sudden gouging occurs because there's too many people and not enough builders, a builder adds his profit and he may add A, B, and C on top of the X, Y, and Z in yellow, and the profit margin. So a lot of guys I know built for cost plus. They would come up and say, I'll build your house. Here's the cost, whatever it is. Then I add 5%, 10%, whatever we agree
well,
to.
if you have some skills at building, you can really save if you do build it yourself.
Yes. And now you have a bit of a problem sometimes with financing. You have to know what you can do as your individual builder. Because even if you have skills, there are certain things you have to hire other people that are permittable, like plumbing, electrical, etc.
Yeah, I don't think you're like pouring your own foundation.
Anyway, what I'm saying about a reverse mortgage, what it does, it allows people to take the equity out of their house tax-free and never make a payment. And when they die, they leave it to their kids. And if the house is worth more than is owed, the kids sell it and and put the money in their
Now,
pocket.
would it be a good idea to pay that interest?
Why?
Depending on what you want to do with the house in the
But
end.
why
I
would you
guess.
get a reverse mortgage in the
Okay.
first place?
So you have to decide that this is it. It's like we're getting rid of the house.
No, you're not getting rid of it. Let's
We're
take
gonna
that
live
same
in it
example. Remember,
like-
the
like-
house is worth 200, you get 100.
Okay.
You don't make a payment. 5 years from now, you haven't died.
But you owe $5,000 a year in interest.
So now you owe $125,000.
Okay.
And the house was worth 200 and the price never went up. And you say, well, we're going to move to Hawaii. So you sell the house and they make $75,000.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is the whole concept is very simple. Whatever you owe when you leave, it has to be either sold, refinanced.
So really, the only way you can lose is if the market is goofy.
Understand,
If the
you-
values of homes have dropped below what you've borrowed on your
well,
reverse mortgage.
how do you lose? You're dead.
Okay. And then you just walk away.
You walk away.
Well, you don't walk away. Your family
No.
does.
The family. I had literally people that were in Vista with a condo, a 2-bedroom condo, and at the top of the market, that $50,000 condo got up to worth $170. For that in that phony period of time, they got a reverse mortgage based on $170. So then, he dies and she moves out to an assisted living, and the bank says, "Hey, we'd like you to pay it." She says, "What do I do, Joe?" And I said, "You do nothing. You don't owe it. Let them have it." I said, "Tell the kids they can pay that $170 off and get your condo." Joe, they're never going to do that. No kidding.
Right.
It's only worth $50. But you have no liability. Now, what happens is they're going to send you out saying they want to get paid, but the reality is it's a government-insured mortgage. You have no liability, and neither does your family. So I think it's the greatest thing since chocolate milk for people. And you can, the part I like about it, you can buy a house and build a house with a reverse mortgage. So
So
let's say
you're getting the money off your current house and
you sell it
going
and you've
into-
got X number of cash.
Okay.
But see, you may not qualify for a mortgage because you don't have any income, but you got a lot of cash because you sold another piece of property. Well, you put, let's say it's a $200,000 house, and a reverse mortgage will give you 100. You take 100 cash and put it in. You have no payment. See, on a reverse mortgage, you don't have to qualify that you can make a payment because there is no payment.
Right.
You have to only prove that you can afford to pay your taxes and insurance. Other than that, you don't have to do anything. So anyway, what happens is the reverse mortgage can do.
Can they kick you out if you're late on your
There is no payment.
taxes though?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Or
Late-
they can put
late-
a lien.
Don't be late.
Sure.
late's one thing, but normally there's more than 1 year to being late.
Okay.
It's, in fact, when you look at a tax foreclosure, and normally the house is 3 years without having the taxes paid. So, and the banks are about the same. They don't really look at it because here's what happens is if the bank is going to foreclose because you're not paying your taxes, the bank is notified. Because they're in first position on the house, and they don't want to do anything until it's necessary that it gets sold for the taxes, and then the banks always buy them for whatever their mortgage is.
Right.
Anyway, 340-1590, 340-1590.
Mr. Martek, may I have a subject switch?
Well, that's where I was going.
Because yesterday I met a young lady
Scary.
who is a certified home health care.
Did she put that barrel in front of your car that you hit?
No.
No?
He's not exactly sure where that came from.
That magic barrel?
It
She's
jumped out.
Home health, yeah.
She's a certified home health care assistant.
Go ahead.
And she is taking care of an older gentleman who is 92 years old with dementia.
Right.
And she was hired by the daughter of the man
Yeah, I
and
understand.
the son-in-law.
Right.
And she was telling me that he went to the hospital and she had to make a decision for him at the hospital. And I said, "Do you have a health power of attorney?" And she says, "No."
Well, hold still a second. If she went through an agency, which she probably did, and there was documentation signed by the family to get this
She
done.
was hired independently by the family.
So much for that. Okay,
No.
next.
So I said to her, "You're putting yourself in possibly tremendous liability by not having a health power of attorney either for you or for the daughter and son-in-law to make those decisions, and that was scary because she's a young girl, and
She didn't know about that.
and she had no idea.
I'm
might have-
surprised that the hospital even.
Let me tell you what
talked
they
to
might
her
have done
about
at the
it.
hospital. She might have also signed personal liability for payment. I mean,
that I don't know.
well,
I
when
didn't get
you
into
admit
that.
somebody into a hospital, you got to sign paperwork to get in. Now, if you sign for your son, your wife, me, whoever it might be, normally they don't tell you, but in those 3 pages that you sign, it says in there you'll be responsible for the bill. Now, in Florida, and you know this, Alan, you're not responsible for the debts of anybody unless you sign for it. So you have to be very careful. So when next time you talk to this young lady, just say, hey, now
Yeah,
understand
who
that
signed him into the hospital?
the old guy probably has Medicare and he's got enough insurance, et cetera, to cover it, so she doesn't have a real risk. But under other circumstances, it could be. Pastor Tom, we were talking a year or two ago because one of the kids was taking mom to the hospital. Said, "Don't sign for mom. You know, you husband and wife is not a problem, but boy, I'll tell you what, somebody else could really make a monster liability. You just have to be careful."
But it seems to me there would be possible liability if she made a decision at the hospital, and the family then sued her
Yeah, that's what I was
because
thinking
for
too.
wrongful death or something like that.
Well,
The family.
Just make sure he doesn't die. Yeah, but I'm agreeing with you. It's not funny.
Yeah,
The
no.
reality is this. She was doing the right thing in her heart, but that right thing in her heart may not have been the smartest thing to do.
And she had no clue until I talked to her
Good.
about it.
Well, she needs to get educated.
See,
and
but
you-
if there's nobody there, let's just say that he was on his own and he got to the hospital would make decisions for him.
let that happen, or she should be calling the son or the daughter, whoever it is, immediately and say, and they can get on the phone and talk to. Normally, a hospital wants to save a person's life; they don't want to let them die.
Yep.
But you do have to be very careful about the liability, as Alan was saying. So there's all kinds of little tiny things that sneak into life that can really mess you up, and that's a big one. All of a sudden, you get a $50,000 hospital bill that you signed for, and you say, wait a minute, that's not for me. Well, you signed for somebody, and that literally does happen. You just have to be careful. 340-1590, 340-1590. Speaking of politics,
Okay.
Were we?
last night, you watched the president, and you had an opinion. We started to talk about that before we got started on the show, and your opinion is...
Well, my opinion is that he did a good job in presenting the speech, but you asked me the question, and it's a good question. Why did he give it?
And your point is?
Point is he setting up for the big next step, which
Yes.
would be
That's
the
got to-
emergency
that-
declaration?
That can only be the only reason that I could see.
Sure.
Is there another? Can you see another reason?
No,
that
he's paving the way.
so paving the way.
This is a step,
and let Ma and Pa Kettle come up with the pitchfork and respond afterward. Which I love that analogy.
Yeah,
though.
the farmer and his wife with the pitchfork.
That was
That's what
really good. That was really
You
good.
couldn't slide a piece of paper between the two of them.
That was cute. Anyway, the thing was a very good speech. It was a very good speech, but I see. I'm looking for the bull, and he was not being a bull last night. He was kind of.
He's tiptoeing.
Yeah, it was like the old bull and the young bull. Remember the joke?
Well, he's
Never mind
meeting.
your joke.
He's
I
meeting.
don't know that joke.
He's meeting with Schumer, Pelosi, and the gang tomorrow, and I think in that closed meeting he's going to put his foot down. He's going to say, "We are going to agree today, or I am taking emergency powers."
You know what? I get a kick out of this. And did you see? I think it was on Fox where they interviewed the border guards. Did you see that interview? Anyway,
Yes.
and
I've disconnected my cable. I have no cable
well, they
at home.
had 3 of them, and in this interview process, was talking to these guys that how many people get through and what all that happens.
Yeah.
And it was that. Now, of course, it was staged, But the bottom line was these are actual people that are working there.
But you see, the other side is saying that those numbers are made up.
Well, here was the number that I liked more than anything.
60,000 in November.
I know. Here was the number that I liked more than anything. 14 cops were killed last year by illegal aliens. 14. Now, those are police. Then there are multiple thousands of people in America killed last year by illegals.
Right.
Not cops, just 14 cops. So the concept starts to show, okay, why are we allowing this? Why, I don't care about sanctuary cities and stuff. People should be vetted before they can come in. Listen, you didn't become an attorney without getting vetted.
If you don't mind, let me just clarify one thing. You don't like the fact that 14 police officers were killed. You're just saying that a number 14, but anybody that
Pick a
gets
number.
killed by an
It makes
illegal alien
Even the
is bad.
statistics, the Democratic response after was that 100 and I don't even remember the numbers, but it was over 100,000 were arrested, and out of that, a certain percentage were gang members. Well, if you did the math, 6,000. It was like 6,000.
Anyway, the whole concept was, and then here was where I was going with this, and this is, in fact, let's stay on this subject because I hate to have Steve hanging there forever on the phone. I'm going to talk to Steve on the radio. Hey, Steve, it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
How you doing, Joe?
All right, my man.
I don't know what speech you guys are watching, but it wasn't the one I was watching. And this number 6,000 is bunk.
No, it was the
Government itself.
percentage. It was the percentage out of all arrested. They said they
You
were
know,
not
there's an old saying: "Figures don't lie, but liars can figure."
So where's the
Well,
where's the
what we saw last
But
night.
now wait, Steve. They
We saw
did.
one lie
Steve,
after
they
another
they
lie.
didn't dispute this was the Democrats. This was the network who gave the numbers. So the number of arrests minus the percentage that they gave that were really gang members. There were still 6,000 illegal gang members, and those were the numbers not from the president, from the network.
60% of all illegals, according to the CBI, come here on visas and airplanes and don't go back.
That was true.
Then where did they get the
Later.
pictures of the people coming over the wall?
Yeah,
Where did they
well,
get the
no,
pictures of the thousands of people?
They did say there's lots and lots of people that do come in
Did
illegally.
you see all the 3- and 4-year-olds leading the charge with their AK-47s? I mean, that's what they tried to scare you into thinking, oh, it's an invasion.
Yeah, my
Use your
3-year-olds.
I didn't see any AK-47s. I'm watching the wrong news, I guess.
That's right. You wouldn't either because it was a peaceful thing. It was not a violent thing. People in America better wake up because they're sitting there
I agree.
listening to a couple nut job stations, and they take it as gospel without checking it out.
Well,
We
you're
have every world
and
check
you're
it
right.
out.
Well, you know what I would appreciate, Steve, and I love you having your call on. I really do. Is call us in next week and get some numbers put together that are documented, and let's beat that up a bit because I'm 100% in favor of doing and exposing whatever is correct. So I would really appreciate it because if you've got the time, I would really appreciate it if you take the time and do that. Can you do that?
Let me leave you with one last thought real quick. I went and bought a head of lettuce the other night at Publix. It was $2.25. I went to Walmart.
Publix.
It was $1.19.
And
Now, that's a big discrepancy. If we don't have migrant labor to pick our vegetables and that, everything is going to explode through the roof because you're not going to get some suburban white kid out there working in the sun picking lettuce all day.
amen.
So
Hey, we're
these
both on the
workers
same
we
page.
need.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, guest workers have been coming since what year, though? A long, long time ago.
Steve, get some numbers
Yeah, but it
together.
used to be-
Get some
it
numbers
used to be
together.
The Trail of Harvest is what they called it.
Sure.
They come in California, go around the country, and right back to Mexico
Yeah.
with a fistful of money.
But now they don't want to do those jobs either. They would like to take the service industry jobs. So
All it amounts
that's
to
'cause-
is
Because everybody said that the white guys didn't want to be bricklayers
that's what.
or carpenters.
Yeah, they
or
say.
electricians.
That's what they say.
Hey,
Yeah.
Steve, listen,
That's
do me a
why
favor
it
again.
flies.
Put some numbers together and help us next week, would you?
Joe.
Yeah, I'll try.
Two
I'll
weeks.
try my best.
Let me
2
let-
weeks,
let me
Joe.
let me. Oh
2
yeah,
weeks,
not
Joe.
next week. Week after next, because I'll be gone next
Oh,
week.
okay.
I have
Yeah,
to go
what's today?
skiing. I have to go skiing in Montana next
He
week,
has
Steve.
to.
Oh, good. It's going to rain.
Thanks,
In
Steve.
Montana?
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in, my man.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
340-1590, 340-1590.
So Montana next week we'll be doing a best of show.
Yeah.
Great.
You know, Steve brings up a problem that we all have.
Right.
And that depending on who you talk to, what figures are really accurate and what figures
Well,
aren't.
that's why I'm saying if we get somebody that actually takes some time to document some numbers and use the source that isn't just the internet, and back to fake news. When I ever read an article, I don't care what document it is, I always look for who wrote it after I'm a third of the way through to see what the agenda is.
Exactly.
Now, I think you said it, and I've read books, and history has had migrants coming into this country forever.
Oh, yes.
Forever. And a lot of them come in 100% legal because the farms want them. They want them. And I look at all of the harvesting states. That's important.
Well, see, even when they shut down the border, there's a problem there because a lot of people. I've been to El Paso.
Yeah.
They come in for the day and they go back home.
Yeah.
They come in and they work and they go back home.
Yeah.
So when they shut down the border, that really does affect the economy.
Of course it does. Now, there's another little
But
minor
this has
thing
been going
that-
on
that-
for a
that- that-
long
that-
time.
that-
These aren't folks who are just piling into our country to add to our welfare rolls.
No. Hey, look, there's always legitimate everything. I don't care what happens. There's people going back and forth across the borders all the time, perfectly legitimately. That's not the problem. The problem is illegal. It's just very simple. If it's a documentation problem and the documentation can't be done, well, I think what Steve was leading to, and this is 100% true, if we don't have anybody laying sod and we have nobody doing roofs, we get no new housing. Well, all of a sudden, something will happen to say, hey, we need people to do roofs and
But
to do
you have
sod.
to realize what happened, though, to the people who do roofs. It used to pay this much an hour, and now it pays a whole lot less because it's all under the table.
Well, guess what's going to happen? It's going to start paying a whole lot more, but that's what it costs. I mean, you can't beat the system. Eventually, it's got to work itself out. I don't care what happens. Anyway, we have another caller. Hey, Mike, it's Joe Martek. Happy New Year. You're on the radio.
You sure do. Thank you, and Happy New Year. What I'm calling about is a legal question. Who's going to cover Alabama's expenses now? They've just been arrested for impersonating a football team.
I hope you didn't have any money on that game, Mike.
No?
Yeah, I wish Greg Fasula was here because he graduated from Alabama.
Yes.
I believe, I may be wrong here, Mike, but I believe the churches and synagogues in Alabama have a mercy fund.
All right. That could help.
Yeah, it was a little bit sad, to put it mildly, how in the world this happened. But hey, it's called a game, remember? And any one game, things happen.
You have to come ready to play, and it was obvious who was ready to play that.
Boy, that was easy to figure out, wasn't it?
Right from the starting first play. I mean,
Hey,
it
listen.
didn't look like a game I was expecting, or a lot of people were expecting.
Hey, listen, you remember this. Now, Greg's not here today. I'm not going to have a show that's live next week. Because I'm going west skiing, Mike, so I can break my body up and I can get shipped back frozen. Anyway.
It'll feel good when you get back here, though.
Yeah, right. But when next time Greg's on, I want you to call up and pick on him about Alabama because that's obviously his alma mater. So.
Well, I listened to a staggering statistics last night after the speeches. I thought the President's was fine. The main one that stuck out was the incredibly expensive cost of immigration compared to the cost of building a substantial barrier wall.
You know what? It's
so much more
and-
expensive.
But those are the costs they're willing to admit to. See, there's other costs that are out there that they don't even want to admit to, like welfare.
Of course. You know, it's just all so wrong. It just keeps me nuts.
Well, what they cost $30,000 a year per illegal immigrant to keep them here, something like that.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
it's-
one of the figures that was tossed out too when they were going to bring people from Syria.
I mean,
It was like 120 grand a year or something like that because
the key thing is our whole system is pathetic with this going on. I got into this, Mike, and I'm glad you called in because I was leading into that. We're spending $250 million a day in Afghanistan, only for 17 years, to accomplish nothing. And $5 billion, if you could do 250 a day, at the end of 2 months, we got $5 billion. I mean, it's
well, even the humanitarian aid going to Guatemala, going to Honduras, and going to Mexico. Hello, we're giving them the aid, and they're still coming here.
Yeah, it's a pathetic system. The reality is this: everybody that comes into America at this point, and I can't blame people for wanting to come here. None of us can blame them. But look at there's a procedure, and if you don't want to do the procedure, stop them. I mean, hey, look at my relatives that came here. I'm sure it was easy. They didn't have to do anything except pay to get on the boat and get off the boat and not be sick. But that was the rule.
Yeah, but
then.
they were processed. They knew where they came from. They knew who they were. They knew how many people were there, and they knew where you were going to go live.
That was the rule.
Yeah.
You know, it's worse than you said, Joe. 250 million a day. You've got 5 billion in 20 days.
That's all. Nothing. I'm not good at math.
But we're not looking at that. We don't want to look at that. Just
We have
pretend
the
it doesn't
workforce
exist.
in place in America to do everything we need, and it's, of course, a rapidly multiplying workforce. So my point is we can't be open season for everybody to get here.
No.
You got to hold the line, and that's what I'd like to tell the president. Hold the line. We're still with you.
How many days do you
Completely
think?
support what you're trying to do for America to keep America great.
How many days, Mike, do you think before he pulls the plug and makes an executive order? You think it'll happen this week?
I would never speculate, but it's coming.
Our producer thinks Friday.
No, I'm hoping for Friday.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
By
but
the end of the
There'll
week.
be no other solution. There'll be no other way.
there
We
is no
know
other.
that.
There, listen. You
Yeah,
think
he's got to do it.
Pelosi and group are not going to back down for a second at this point? There's no way.
In their mind, this is their next way of taking the floor out from under him and impeaching him. That's what this is all about.
Well, Mike, if they don't come to an agreement when they meet tomorrow, I think then he'll take action because tomorrow is the key because of the fact that it will show the American people that the Democratic leadership does not want to do anything to compromise with this president.
That's it.
And last night he showed a willingness to work with both parties to get this done.
The Democrats even let DACA slip away.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't do it
Yeah.
because they weren't going to fund this wall.
Right.
Hey,
How do those people feel? I mean,
all it amounts to is you think. I still think I vote with you that Friday he pulls the plug.
yeah, I would like to see
That's
it.
it. That's
Yeah,
it.
I'm just hopeful
So
for that.
we're going to do it.
I expected a little more last night, but I get it.
I expected
it.
a little more last night, too. I really did. I thought the speech was fine and adequate, but then he stopped 4 paragraphs too soon.
Great speeches came from DeSantis and his lieutenant governor, too, so we can really be proud at the more local level for Florida that we now have a really, really good governor. And I think they'll put together a team that's just going to be fine.
I'm 1,000% in agreement there. I'm really proud of this guy. This kid is just gonna he's gonna make it happen. Hey, look at thank you, Lord. We're in Florida, number 1, number 2 in America, and number 3 for having the president we have today.
Amen. Well, enjoy your vacation. It sounds great.
Hey, listen, if I don't die, I'm gonna love it. Happy New Year, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now, didn't you go on one of these little vacations of yours and come back with broken bones or something?
Never.
No. Okay.
Never.
Okay.
I've never broken a bone.
All right, so let's
I blew
keep
the
it-
end off my finger on the boat.
Let's keep it
Nothing
that way.
Nothing serious. No, I'm not going to ski what you call hard. Mm-hmm. No, out there, I mean, it's
Yeah,
one
me,
run is 5 miles long.
I wouldn't even want to get cold.
I know, but I see personally, it is so breathtaking. Like right now, on the top of the mountain, there's 5 feet of snow. 5 feet.
Good for the mountain.
Now, where I'm staying, it's only got 2 feet. It's Dr. Zhivagoland. I said Dr. Zhivagoland to somebody the other day. He said, who's that? Now, then it shows you I'm old because I remember who Dr. Zhivago, the movie, but young people don't.
Joe, would you please stop talking about snow? You're making me sick to my stomach.
I know, Wisconsin, right?
Let's talk a little bit economics with, let's say that Trump does pull the plug, does the big thing.
Right.
Does the stock market go up because the American people support it, or doesn't it matter? Does it stay the same, or does it go down?
That's
now,
a
we don't
really
have the
good
answer,
question.
but it'll be interesting to see what happens if he pulls the
You know,
plug.
I don't know the answer either, but I do know the market is very, very excited today about this probably settlement with China. And the fact that the Fed last week said they're probably not going, I'm paraphrasing, of course, because they don't say it in simple English, not going to raise interest rates anymore. So all of a sudden, the market is now recouping some of the losses, which we fully
we're up
expected.
1,200 Dow points in 4 days at
I know.
the moment.
We fully expected that, you and I. We've talked about this before. We didn't know exactly what day. I've got a client of mine who, he's perfect. He's perfect. I should franchise this guy because every time he gets out of the market goes up. And every time he gets back in, it goes down. He's got it down to a science. And I said, I really should franchise him because he's superb talent because he waits until the very last to make it happen. And it's just, look at, I think you and I have talked about it, and you've brought it up, Alan, any number of times. The Standard & Poor's 500, almost since 1930, has averaged roughly 8 to 10% per year growth, no matter what. Now, have there been years that it went down 20 and 30? Yes, but there have been years it's gone up 20 and 30. But the average, and what you're talking about is 500 of America's biggest companies. If you think America's going out of business, money in the bank's no good either, because that paper money is useless. And then I had people say, well, Joe, I'm going to do gold. And I said, so you're going to go to the grocery store with a bar of gold in your hand and a knife, and you're going to slice off a piece of the gold bar for a loaf of bread, right? America's not going out of business. This is just not going to happen. Armageddon could hit and the whole thing could blow up, but our bottom line is we are not going out of business. So I'm not even remotely concerned. And where I'm still excited, very excited, is that our president today ain't going to take any caca from anybody. And when they come after him, I feel sorry for them because he's going to win in the long run. Because behind the scenes, the man's going to make it happen. So, hey, going to be an interesting year. And it's going to be a very interesting new election.
Yes. Do we have another call?
No.
Oh, we don't. Okay.
Do we who what?
I thought we had another call, but we don't.
No. We have no. We had a note from our owner's husband.
Executive producer.
Is that who he is? Mm-hmm. She promoted him. I thought he was janitor. That's her. She's the executive producer. He's the janitor. And he left me a note that says, Sonny Bono says hi.
I brought up Sonny Bono earlier too, didn't I?
Yeah, you got it already with that.
Be
Those
very
of
careful.
you that don't know who Sonny Bono was, that was Cher's husband, and he managed to hit a tree and die skiing.
You listen to the morning show, don't you?
Yeah.
I always
right.
my good friend Lynette in the office always says, at least he died doing what he liked. And I always go, if someone told him you're going to hit a tree skiing today,
He didn't go skiing.
He wouldn't go skiing.
He wouldn't go skiing.
He would stop skiing.
And what happens though, guys, and I hate to say this, but one time in my entire life skiing, I listened to some crazy people, and they made me jump off a cliff and start skiing.
Okay.
Which
Yeah, I've
they
seen
call
that where
these-
you just sort of like
They
drop
call
off.
these double blacks. Double blacks. You're stupid. So first they had to dig me out of the snow when I hit. Luckily the snow was nice and deep and it didn't cover me up. Then I had to get down from that spot. The only way to get down from that spot was to go through the trees that Sonny Bono hit.
Okay.
I did that one time in my life, and those people I never met again and never will.
Mm-hmm.
If I see them again, I carry a knife now. Anyway, I'm going to do what's called greens.
Okay.
So the way it works in skiing, Bunnies are the easiest.
Yeah, I was thinking bunny myself.
Greens are the next easiest, then blues, then blacks,
Okay.
then double blacks.
Okay.
So I'm staying with the greens and a little blue. Not much.
Bunny sounds fun.
No, bunny's not good. I know the bunny, and it's not good. But I do know also that at the end of the green run, there's a bar.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be the.
A way to warm up.
Not only that, it's how I stop skiing for the day.
The truth be told.
When they open, I will be the first customer. The first day, I almost guarantee that. If I can make it down that.
And there's no more skiing after that.
Oh no.
No.
I have tried skiing with any alcohol in me. It was a big mistake.
Yeah, no.
I cannot. If I have a breath of a beer, it's amazing how your
Yeah.
coordination. You don't really know how bad it could be affected.
Right.
Now, some people, and Alan, I've known them, and they ski drunk, and I don't know how they do it. Maybe they're not old guys, that's for sure.
Yeah.
340-1590, 340-1590. We didn't hear from Bulldog today.
Not yet, but we've still got about 7 minutes to go.
Did you talk to him last week or so?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he's still alive?
He's still alive.
Yeah.
He's doing well. Wished him a happy new year.
He's up. He's going to be up there frozen and come
Yeah, he's
Thursday
moved
and
to
Friday.
the Great White North.
Yeah, he's in Palm Coast, which is almost to Jacksonville, between St. Augustine and Jacksonville.
Actually was like west of Daytona, something like that.
No, it's north.
Is it? Okay.
It's between Jacksonville and St.
Oh,
Augustine.
He might as well be in Georgia.
He might as well.
Yeah.
He's starting to say y'all most of the time.
You were talking about skiing, which is a sport. I just want to alert people to something down here in Florida, that the NBA team, the Milwaukee Bucks, is probably a team that you're going to want to watch because they have one player who his first name's Giovanni, his last name is about 17 letters, I can't pronounce it, but he's 6'11", and he's got the potential of being better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was. He's 24 years old, and the reason I say that is he has all the skills of Kareem under the basket, but he also shoots three-pointers, and about a third of the game, he is the guard taking the ball up the court. So
So you
What's
think
he
he's
doing
the
in
next,
What's he
next
doing in
big name?
Wisconsin? He's not too bright.
he loves Wisconsin. We're not going to have a Kareem situation. It looks like that he's going to be a long-term Milwaukee Buck, and the Bucks are right up at the top of their division this year. And if you like to just see good athletes, no matter what team you root for, it's worth it to see the best of the best, and he's going to become the best of the best.
So
If he
no
doesn't-
domestic violence records yet.
No, and
I am kidding.
he's not the type. He's very low key.
Hey, look at famous.
I am
listen,
kidding.
You know what?
Not
you're
like Joe
Are you-
Martek,
are you
who's very
wishful-
high
and
key.
Your wishful thinking is what it amounts to. I don't want my boy up there 6'11" screwing up, right?
You know, if
You know,
if,
I mean,
if,
absolutely.
if he screws up,
Yeah.
he'll get a high-priced attorney, and we'll go from there.
Well, maybe he's from California.
No, he's not. He's from Greece.
Hey, we got another phone caller here. Let's take it. We're almost out of time. So, Gene, it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
I just wanted to let you know that a hot buttered rum with a shot of Bacardi Black is the official drink of Double Black Diamond.
Let me just write this
He's-
down.
yeah, he's
this,
getting a pen.
This means I don't have to ski the double black, but I can have
can
the
drink it.
instead. Is that correct?
You sure can.
Thank you, sir. You know what? That's important stuff.
Yeah.
Did I tell you, Gene? I've been out there many, many times over the years, and you buy a hat that says Big Mountain on it, and it's Hell Roaring is the name of the bar up on the hill, and you buy the hat for $25, but it gets you one free beer a day. They're still way ahead of me.
Well, you enjoy your vacation, and I'm jealous because I haven't been skiing in years. I'm like you. I'm too old to fall down.
You know what, Gene? I am too old to fall down. That's why. You know, it's like old guys playing golf. It's not too far, but right down the middle. Not too far, right down the middle. You watch the skiers. My group is called the Over the Hill Gang, and I'm serious. There's guys out there have brass plaques on it, but you watch them ski, It's smooth. I mean, it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
it's just like aged scotch.
Yep. Well, enjoy your vacation, and we'll see you when you get back.
Thanks, Gene.
care.
340-1590, 340-1590.
Joe, I want to thank Gene because he just gave the most important information that we've ever had in the 2.5 years I've been on the show.
The hot buttered rum?
Yes.
With a shot of what in it?
Bacardi, was it?
Bacardi.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he mentioned a specific Bacardi.
Well, you just order the, what was it? The double whatever. Just
Double
order.
black.
Yeah,
They'll probably know.
Yeah, they'll know.
They'll know.
The bartender will know.
The
Any suggestions for Joe? You got 3 minutes to call 340-1590.
Well, I tell you what, when you get old, you don't get excited about too much. But I think it's been 3 years since I went skiing, and the fact that it's free, by the way, did I tell you that?
No, that's terrific.
Once you get to the over the hill game,
Senior discounts.
you don't. No, there is no discount. It's free. No lift tickets. So that's like $500 for a week. You get to save. So you know how you justify things? You'll spend $20,000 to save $500.
Right.
Well, this isn't the same, but it does have some
close.
correlation. You know, where you start making something saying, well, not only do I deserve this trip. Oh, you sure you do, huh? Who says you do? I do. Did you get anybody else to vote? No. I didn't want anybody else voting. I'm going regardless.
We are a really politically correct show today because you're talking about skiing, and we've got 4 people in the studio, and 2 of them use walkers. So
You guys would look really good on a toboggan.
now you got it.
There you go.
What were you saying, Cliff? Was it you that was saying about when you were young, they would stand up in the toboggan holding the rope and go down rocks and stuff?
Land on their face.
Land on your face.
Yeah. What's the saying? A drunk doesn't feel anything.
I have an ex-wife number 6 for you.
Ex-wife number 6.
Yeah,
Which one?
Bezos is getting divorced. His
Yeah.
wife of 25 years. It's going to be the biggest divorce settlement in the history of America.
I like
you
her.
can live like a king.
I like her already.
Actually,
340.
it's just one.
Well, if that might take 2 years to settle, but they might do a quick settlement and let her just get $1 billion or whatever.
Shall we remind the audience, no show, live show next
Well,
week?
we're going to redo this one or whatever one you pick. I
Yeah,
don't
we
care.
can redo this one.
Yeah, we didn't get much, but we had a couple of good phone calls, and we got was it Steve that called in that doesn't like what's going on. So we'll get some statistics out of Steve, and I like. Hey, look, it isn't that you and I are always right.
Of course not.
We were wrong a couple of years ago. I remember once.
But let me just say to people that are in healthcare, be very cautious about getting a healthcare power of attorney.
It's not a bad idea when it comes to a healthcare surrogate, healthcare power of attorney. All it amounts to is if you sign for somebody when you put them in a hospital, you might be opening yourself up for a monster can of worms. Just be careful. 340-1590, 340-1590. We don't have much time left. But on the other hand, you can call the station anytime. They'll take your name and number and have us call you back. Or they'll give you my number, whichever, and we will call you back. And I will even call you back from Montana.
Oh, just a reminder, make sure that all the team members know you're not going to be here next week because someone might show up to do a show with you. And
Well, then guess what? Then they may have to do a show. You never know. Alan wants to do the show, but he wants to only talk politics the whole time.
No, I would have done the show if other team members were here, but everybody needs a break.
But on the other hand, he wanted to talk about running over barrels that were illegally placed in the middle of the street.
jumping out.
Jumping out at him,
Jumping
taking
out.
off his mirror.
Say goodbye, Joe.
Until week after next, say thanks so much for calling us in, and we will wishing everybody a magnificent Happy New Year.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.